So Japan does not really have a social safety net. The social safety net in Japan is people's current job at their current company. So you can't allow these companies to fail no matter how moribund they are. You have to make it safe for people to be able, for companies to fail, for people to lose their job and to help them transition to the next job. That's one of the preconditions for catalyzing a productivity revolution. If you look at the black area here, this is the total amount of hours of work. So if you were to look at Japan's unemployment in terms of hours, not people that work for 20 hours a week, the unemployment rate is still pretty high. The hours of work are going down, so the only source of GDP growth is growth in productivity. So if you want to grow the economy faster, you've got to get productivity. Now, what creates productivity is companies. Companies create productivity. But what are the conditions under which companies create productivity? You can't have competitiveness without competition. And that should be emblazoned, on the forehead of every Japanese cabinet minister. Now, the other condition is this. There are three ways companies or corporate sector can improve productivity. One is that incumbent firms do what they're doing and they do it better. And they do that mostly under the pressure of competition. Second way is bad firms just die or downsize. And the third way is that new firms come into being and either take away market share from existing firms in that industry or entirely new industries. We now look at Japan. It's got the least turnover in the OECD. And if we look is that of all of the improvement in Japanese total factor productivity, 70% comes just from incumbent firms doing what they're doing better. And very little from a shift in market share, and even little less to the entry and exit of firms. So it means two things. One is, the first is easier to say and administratively easier to do, politically hard, which is labor market reform. One immediate step is enforce equal pay for equal work. So companies are not hiring all these non-regulars so they can pay them less wages. The non-regulars don't get training. So Japan is destroying its human capital, which is its only resource. So that's one thing, and the social safety net to make it possible. But the thing which they really need to do is work on competitiveness policy, part of which is antitrust policy, but also things to create new firms. Now, one route is more imports and more inward FDI. But the other thing is to do things to promote new companies. And one of the things I've been looking at this week is the issue of startups. Because in a lot of countries, it's these startups that really drive job growth, drive innovation. Only about 10% of startups survive, but the ones that do survive change the ecology of the economy. Suppose you said we're going to take 4 or 5% of all government procurement and give a preference for companies that are less than 10 years old. Don't make it for SMEs, for small size. Make it by age. So the companies can't be on the dole forever. They got 10 years. Wow. That means they've got sales. They got cash coming in. Now they can go to a bank and say, lend us money because we have this contract. They can go to other firms and say, if we're good enough for the government, why don't you buy our stuff too? Not a guarantee, but just saying, if you've got two companies equal, give the preference to the newer firm. There are a number of things that could be done that I think would help catalyze. The government cannot substitute for private actors. But I think the government can create an environment and create catalysts that help induce private actors to act differently than they otherwise would have.